Hey everyone, and welcome to week 2. I've enjoyed getting to know you through the discussion board and, hearing about ARCs and all the stuff you guys do and how far along in school you are. So keep up the great discussion, and I look forward to seeing your assignments. But it seems like all of you are kind of getting the idea and wrapping your head around Maya, so that's really good to hear. I did find that a lot of you are newer to Maya, which is totally fine, but a few things that I just want to discuss really quickly so that you get in, the habit of doing things. Whenever you're in Maya, make sure that your left hand, your fingers are on W, E, and R. We have our move, rotate, and scale tools here, but we never want to, click, 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 click. So just make sure you have W, E, and R for move, rotate, and scale. Then you don't have to actually go and click. Q next to W, E, and R, so your pinky can do that, is your select tool. Sometimes when we have our gizmo, this user interface tool is called our gizmo. Sometimes the gizmo gets in the way of other things, so I like to hit Q or the selection tool so it temporarily goes away and you can select whatever you want. Alright, so just try to get in that habit. I know you're probably used to now at least navigating around the view space, holding Control or Command, and then, middle mouse button, left mouse, and right mouse. Don't forget, if you want to click on something and then hit F on your keyboard, that focuses in on it so you can see it nice and easily. Besides keeping my hand there, just making sure you're using that Control A or Command A to get you from your attribute editor. I'm sorry, it's Control A on both. Get your attribute editor and your channel box going. Just those little things will help make your workflow go that much quicker. We'll also get used to using these kind of shortcuts here. You'll find out what all of these mean, more for modeling when we're in polygons, but anyway, feel free to always ask me if you have any questions on hotkeys. There are customizable hotkeys, so if there's something that you like a particular way, you can set it up to always be a certain key or combination of keys. All right. So you guys already have your skeleton nice and set up. I just wanted to demonstrate with one leg, and then you can kind of move forward from there. If you are having issues applying it to a different section, let me know. So we're talking about IK versus FK this week. Now, let's start simply. What does that stand for? Well, IK is inverse kinematics, and FK is forward kinematics. Last week we talked about parent-child relationships, and this is just taking that to a new level. So in forward kinematics, the parent affects the child, who affects the child, who affects the child. And FK is how we currently have your entire model set up, because that's how we made it. You started with a parent, the next one you clicked was a child, and so forth. So that means, if I were going to rotate my leg, or, whatever, here we go, all I have to do is rotate the top, and the whole leg goes with it. Awesome, but think about how you walk. I know it's hard being online, but take a few steps, okay? To move, do you pick up from your hip? No, we pick up our foot, right? So your foot comes off the ground, which causes your knee to bend, and then we get into those arcs as your foot moves forward and steps down. So, moving this doesn't make sense. I mean, yes, we could kind of get an arc going this way, but this would be a very weird way to walk. So we have to set up an IK, inverse kinematic system, so that the child affects the parent. All right? So it's a pretty simple process. You need to select what's actually going to be the leader of the movement. Now in this case, you might think, oh, well, the toe area is the most, child joint we have here, but it's not your toe that leads the way. Yes, you can pick up your toe and roll through them as you walk, but we actually start the movement more with our ankle. So, and our hip is going to become our effector. So we can just go to skeleton and then create IK handle. And then you're going to click the hip at the top and then the ankle at the bottom. You want to make sure you start with whatever joint is the parent and end with the child that's going to take over. So in the arm, it's going to be the shoulder to the wrist. Now when you make this, you can see I now have this green line through here, and there's actually a nice little crosshair here to show it. And if you look in your outliner, which again you can click your little panel layout that shows your outliner, or you can always go to window, window outliner right here. And the outliner just shows everything that you have in your scene at all times, lights, models, joints. So you can see we have IK handle 1. I'm going to name that, I just realized I made my, ignore, this should be left hip, but that's fine. So we'll do left foot IK. I would label it, make sure that it says IK somewhere. But now all we need to do is, you don't have to grab those joints. You can grab this foot IK, and we'll see here that now by moving this, you can actually get a realistic walk. Now, that's why it's really important that you have some sort of a bend in your joints before you do an IK. That tells Maya, where is this knee going to bend and how is it going to work? And we can't stretch it further. So I can pull this IK handle as far as I want, but it's never going to extend the leg. So this is kind of nice because you're never actually extending your leg when you walk. So it's a good thing to have in Maya to make sure. Okay. So that's how we create our IK handle. And you can always look in your attribute editor. There's always going to be a lot of attributes here. Here, oops, here we go. Having a Mac with my mouse, it goes in the reverse, up and down. So here we go. You can have your bend. Feel free to look into what the different solvers are. Basically says, how is this IK handle going to affect the joint's rotation? If you need to twist, if your knee is bending in a weird way, this is where you would set up that. So we can always look in our attribute editor to find some more details that we can edit. All right. Now, normally, when you have a human character, you can use the arms as IK as well, and that's how we're going to set it up to practice. But you can also use arms as FK. If your arms are just swinging, like when you walk, it's a very natural low movement, that can actually start with your shoulder. But if you're leaning on something, try putting all of your weight on your right arm, and then try to you can move your shoulder around and it's not affecting your hand because there's so much weight. You actually have to push off with your hand to be able to move. So we do use both IK and FK in the arms, but it's pretty standard that you're going to have IK in the legs. Alright, so something that we want to do with our joints to make things easier when it comes to animation is limiting how far we can rotate them. For example, your knee, we can't do this in real life, so it makes it easier if we limit it in our Maya file so you don't even have to worry about it. So when you click on any of your joints, you can go into your attribute editor here, and there's going to be a tab called Limit Information. And if you go into there, you can limit the translate, rotate, or scale, but we're going to be dealing with mostly rotate of any of the joints. So for example, we can see that I'm rotating in Z. That's the blue axis, or you can look over here and it labels what direction and what color your axes are. Now this is because I'm in the side view. If you're looking in a front view, it's going to be a little bit different. But we can see that when I rotate this, this is changing. So it's telling you where you currently are. So I can say, you know, let's say that's as far forward as I want it to go. I can click this to go into the minimum and turn it on. So now I can no longer rotate past that. And then let's say for the other direction, somewhere around there is as far as I want it to go. So I take the current, put it in the max, and turn that on. Now, no matter what I do with this, you know, joint on here, I can't actually rotate it further than what I've put in. You can click as long as you want, and you can see it's rotating in different angles, but I've limited the mobility of my joint here. All right, and that applies for all of them. You know, with your knee, you're never really going past a straight angle, so you'd want to limit it, you know, pretty minimal movement forward, and then you can edit it, you know, so that it can go all the way back. All right, so that's what I'm looking for this week is your IK setup and some limits for your joints. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a wonderful week.